All right, welcome everybody to this episode of Shirley Talk Podcast. Kelly, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. Did you have a great weekend?
I did.
And it's Wednesday. I don't know why I'm thinking about
I
that because
know.
I saw you Monday night at the drawing.
I
So,
know. I'm excited for this weekend.
well, today we have the infamous Wright Mechanical, Scott Wright, Wright Mechanical, the owner of one of the best businesses in Louisville. So, thanks, Scott, for coming in.
Thank you all for having us.
Yeah, Scott's been a partner. I call them partners because they're more to us than just sponsors. The stuff that Scott has done in the community has just been unbelievable for some of our patients, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But, we met. I didn't know you. I was trying to think of how long ago it was that we had met. How long was it? 5, 6, 7 years ago?
It's been at least 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had
6 years ago.
We were talking about it before we started. I had some rental property and we had one of them sold, and the vents under the house had came loose, and I didn't know who to call. I was freaking out, and the guy helping me said, call Wright Mechanical. So I did, and you sent one of your guys out there, and he crawled under the house in pouring down rain, crawled under the house and put them all together and refused to send me a bill. So at that point, a friendship was born. So you've been touched by cancer, and it was your dad. And how long ago was that your dad was around?
He passed away around 10 years ago.
Okay.
And he had leukemia, and he retired from the pipe fitters. He had diabetes, so everything they would do for him would always affect diabetes, and and then, once I seen that struggle, and then I found out about you all, then I just kind of said, this is what I like.
Yeah, I knew your dad had passed, but I didn't know the reason why that you were so passionate about what we do, because just about anything we do, you're willing to sponsor and help out.
Well, I think part of it is because you see so much waste in corporate stuff where, you're paying salaries of all this stuff versus it staying local and helping people that, my dad had good insurance. He was a pipe fitter, so he didn't have to worry about that, but you see a lot of people, like I said, I've even seen it, that they lose everything. They have to pay for their cancer treatment versus paying for food or mortgage or any of that stuff. And I thought, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. How old was he when he died? Do you remember?
Oh,
he wasn't very old.
64.
Was he? I wasn't thinking he was that old. Yeah. Your mom was younger than that. I keep thinking that my mom was 63 when she passed.
My mom was 58.
Yeah. You keep reminding me that I could be your dad. Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. So have you ever worked with charity? Was charity part of your thing before? I mean, it just seemed like it's something that you're born with, because you really got such a giving heart. So did you work with any other organizations before?
No, other than just normal. We, when we work for somebody, we take check out of our check would be given to United Way or Red Cross or one of those things, but nothing like this.
Right.
And but I didn't go through that stuff until my dad passed. So it just kind of grew on me, you know.
Did he fight it very long?
About a year and a half.
Okay.
I think they diagnosed him in, we were at Street Rod Nationals that year. In August, they diagnosed him with cancer. He went into remission around the first of the year, and then him and my mom got to go on a cruise together. And then like August, September, the next year he came back, and then 6 weeks later he was gone.
Did they give him like an all clear for a month or so and then said, oh, I'm sorry, it's back?
No, he had the all clear. And as far as I know, he was fine until then, for 6-8 months or whatever it was.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. And I don't, obviously this is for, we tell everybody this is for entertainment purposes only. We're not doctors. We're not in the medical field, but I don't understand how they go from all clear to 6-8 months later. Oops, sorry.
Right.
It's just back. Or did you miss something the first time is kind of what I usually think.
Right.
But you just never know the answer to those questions.
Right. Yeah. And just when it came back, they did the blast and his numbers went down and they just never come back up.
Right.
So,
yeah, that's a tough one there. Yep. So that's about how long my mom fought, was a year and a half. Your mom went pretty quick, right?
Almost 4 years.
Okay. Yeah. But she got a clear at one time too, didn't she?
Yeah. About a year.
Yeah.
So she went to Vegas, did all those nice, fun things you get to do. And yeah. But I don't think you ever really have an all clear.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works, but it's still in there somewhere.
I don't know. Because a friend of ours, Richard, of course, the kind of cancer he had, they actually told him it would come back.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. I guess because they can't get it out of your system for whatever reason. I just don't understand why we can't be dipped in something and have it kill it and then pull you right back out. And again, I guess that'll be where we're at one day. But it's just amazing that happens.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's why you gotta live while you can.
Yeah.
Don't wait for, I'm not gonna wait for retirement to enjoy life now. I've seen that and no, there's no more.
Yeah, and you do that. And that's interesting how it changes people's perspective because you're kind of a workaholic. Did you, before your dad passed, did you and Trixie take time to go on little vacations, or you all just worked to the grind all the time?
Yeah, not much. Before that, it was, Gatlinburg, maybe spring break. And then after that, it was kind of like, I said, I'm done. I'm going to enjoy stuff. I'm going to go out and do a couple of trips because we have a bunch of kids, so we never did anything until about
defined bunch of kids.
I
know. Only 7, so only 7, no big deal.
Sounds like you went on a few more vacations than you remember.
Right. So the first trip without a kid was about 9 years ago.
Really?
Maybe.
Yeah.
And since then, it's been like, yep, we can do this. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. Kelly doesn't have, I don't out you, but you don't have kids yet, right?
I do not.
In HIPAA world, we got to be careful what I ask you on the air and you sue me or something. But, it's just, when we had our kids, the only people my kids would stay with was my mom. She treated them like they were anything me and Ma would get it for them. And, but yeah, my kids didn't sleep through the night for almost 18 months per kid. So we got 3 kids times 6, 7 years. We didn't go anywhere for at least 7 or 8 years. And then we didn't have anybody to watch them when we wanted to. So getting out after 9 years of kids, 7 kids, I mean, that had to be unbelievable. I remember the first time we got out, we looked at each other like, what do we do? We hadn't been
exactly what we said.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not having kids yet.
But our kids, our kids were always good though. They slept all night. They were good when you took them out. I mean, I could take them all 7 of them out to the dinner by myself and no issues. I mean, I've literally taken all 7 kids to a buffet or Texas Roadhouse or Logan's back then, and nothing.
Yeah,
no big deal.
Ours were too. Ours didn't sleep through the night, but they were good kids. You could take them anywhere. You still can, and they're going to sit there and act like they have sense, but. Yeah. When you got a 2-year-old, even though if they're sitting there minding their no business, you got to constantly pick stuff off the floor and do this and run them to the bathroom and take them to the diaper. I mean, it's just unbelievable. There's no sitting down and relaxing and enjoying a meal.
And bathroom breaks everywhere you go.
Yeah.
We always say they inspect the bathroom.
Yeah, I don't care where it's at. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. No, you don't. You just want to go see the place. Yeah. I mean, what is there to see in a bathroom? I don't understand it. But yeah, so. Well, yeah, that's cool. So I kind of thought that you were the heads down, worked all the time. Right. And then when your dad passed, is like, you know what? Life's too short. Because I see you all taking trips all the time, and that's amazing.
It's catch up.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't fly until we went to St. Martin 5 years ago. The first time we ever got on a plane.
Really?
Now, we flew to Key West the first time we ever flew anywhere. But just me and Trixie just flew down to Key West for a few days and then come back, and then Plumber Supply paid for us a trip. Because we buy a lot of stuff from them, and they were like, "You have to get on a plane. You're going out of the country." Well, we don't have a passport. We never been on an airplane, so we did all this stuff within a matter of 4 months.
Wow!
The first time we ever flew. Now it's like, shoot, I ain't driving. I don't want to drive to Nashville.
Well, you seem like old pros now. For people listening, we're in Kentucky, and him and Trixie at one time would just hop in the car and drive to Key West, which is about a 20-hour drive.
I've done it 3 times.
Yeah, and then come home, leave on a Friday, and come home on a Sunday. I'm like, are you kidding me? But
you only live once.
Yeah, well, yeah, but man, that driving gets me. I can't sit in that long.
It does now, but I mean, I've drove to Florida 3 times this year with racing. Yeah.
So how did you get into racing?
I always liked it.
But y'all build the cars from the ground up, right?
Yeah. My dad drag raced motorcycles in the late 70s. Yeah, late 70s. And I always just liked cars and go fast. And then Anthony raced go-karts when he was in grade school. And then Doodle, that drives the car, lived across the street from my mom and dad. And I've known him for 20-something years now.
Does he have a real name?
Donald Ferris. Believe it or not. I didn't know it for a long time before
I meant to ask the other day.
I knew him for a couple of years before I knew his name.
That's funny.
And we just became friends. And then he raced go-karts with Anthony, but back when and then he got into doing some dirt racing. And then Tommy's just a gearhead and wants to do everything. So I started sponsoring him, and I sponsor a bunch of people. And then a year or so ago, we just came up and said, let's just build our own race car. So we just sat in the shop and bought the metal and bent it and welded it. And
yeah, I've seen pictures. Kelly and I were talking about this on the way out here. I've dealt with real estate a lot, and I can rip a house apart and put it back together, but I don't know the first thing about engines or cars or, if I don't stick the key in it, it didn't turn on, I'm kind of screwed. I don't know what to do at that point. So we need to put Kelly in a car.
Yeah.
I was going to drive the bus, remember?
There you go.
Yeah, we need to get her in a car and have her drive.
I was watching you back up that big old truck in the parking lot. You look like you were struggling.
It's a lot. The parking spots aren't real big here.
No.
It cracks me up. Kelly's I tell Kelly she's my 4-foot badass because she can do anything. I went in there one day and she was changing the locks on the door because the battery ran out. And then we had to take our box truck someplace, and she could barely reach the step to get in it. She hopped in there and drove it like nobody's business. So she could drive a race car, I guarantee.
There you go.
Yeah.
They're fun, especially when somebody's coming at you through the intersection twice a lap.
No, I'm hitting them.
Yeah. No, don't do that.
I'm taking the whole thing out.
Sometimes you have to do that, though.
Yeah. Well, I know the answer to this question because I know your heart, but you go to people's houses and you're not going to walk in and sell somebody a unit. If you can fix it, you do. But there's been several instances that you walk into somebody's home and you can tell something's not right. You can tell that they're struggling. And I've known several instances where you just say, it's taken care of. Don't worry about it. Is it when your guys walk in and they give you a call and say, hey, look, this is a situation. Is there something we can do?
Depending on the situation, of course. Generally, they know that if it's, and it doesn't have to be cancer either. If they're struggling with whatever reasons, just do the right thing.
Yeah.
If they're your family member and they need help, you help them.
Yeah. Because that's different. I know other organizations, and I know a few, and I'm not going to throw them out there. You're competitors, but you went and fixed a unit not too long ago, and you charged them. It was $1 for the part. I watched the post, and a competitor went out and told them it was going to be $10,000 to replace their unit. I mean, what are people thinking when they do that stuff, other than greed or? It seems like we've lost our moral compass in today's world.
It's mostly greed.
Yeah, because when I went in college, I had to take a class called business ethics, and a lot of your competitors don't seem to have ethics in today's world.
No. Well, I mean, we did a job last week for Joey Craig, and I sent Donnie out there, and they just called and said we need a price on a new rooftop unit. I was like, well, okay, whatever. Generally, I don't take the word for it. I want to go in and check it, and I want to know that it was bad. I changed it for the right reason. Well, Donnie calls and goes, it's unwired. I said, well, then wire it up and see if it works. It's still working. So he's going about a day to check the Freon because it was colder when he did it. But
so you think a competitor went out there and unwired it
and said you need a new unit?
Wow! So a unit on top of Joey Craig and Landreth probably would have been $50,000. I mean, it's a huge deal.
It's the one across the street, but it's probably still going to be $15,000.
But somebody,
regardless,
why can't we tell the world about these crooks? And I would love to name some of them right now because I know one of them for a fact. I had a company in a previous house I had having air conditioning problems, and it was before I met you guys. It was many years ago. And Elder Heating and Air went out there and said, you don't need a U unit. Whoever was out here before me overinflated it with Freon. And then he said, that's the oldest trick in the book. Yep. So Bobby took some Freon out of it and boom, it fired right up. Yep. So, I mean, it's insane the morals that people have in this world.
Yeah. I mean, elders are good. I know who they are. I don't know them, but they're always pretty good. I don't think I've ever heard anything bad about them.
Before I met you, I would never use anybody else but them. But
there's some sketchy ones out there. Yeah. I mean, this one here, I know they got caught a few years ago. I think who showed up at this job for them, like for Joey and them, was stolen air conditioner from a lady, charged her for it, never went back and put it in, blah, blah, blah. I put the unit in the house that they stole it. That's how I found out about the situation, but I don't know that's the truth. Kind of hearsay. I know who they used to use, so I figured that, but it happens. I mean, we fix them. Like I said, whenever I go and do a quote, I had a lady called me yesterday, matter of fact, and she goes, my furnace blew up, popped, smoked, whatever. I need a new furnace put in. And while I'm there, she goes, well, can we go ahead and do the water heater while we're at it? It's like, sure, I can get the water heater done. Doodle was a plumber. I'll send Doodle over to it. So I started investigating a little bit more, and I looked at it, and I was like, she goes, well, I seen red glowing over here to the right. And I was like, well, that's not your furnace. It's electric heat pump, so it's electric heat. I said, it's your water heater. So I pulled the cover off the side of it. black. Doodle put a picture on Facebook a little while ago. There's nothing wrong with your furnace. It's 20 years old. I put it in 20 years ago. You don't need a new unit. She was ready to buy a new unit. I said, you don't need it. Well, I think I'm just going to. I said, you don't look, don't make a decision today.
Yeah.
Let's get your water heater replaced. You think about it. And her husband, I think he passed away of cancer a few years ago because they were friends of my mom and dad's, and I've been friends with her kids. I said, you don't need a new unit. You don't need it. And she kept saying, well, maybe I'll do it. I'll call you tomorrow. Don't change this unit out just because you had the fire department here. There's nothing wrong with your unit. So I could have easily just went and go, yep, you need a new unit, blah, blah, blah.
And most people would. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Right. I mean, I passed a $10,000 job because there's nothing wrong. I said $1,000 for your water heater and you're good to go.
Yeah. I just think,
and I didn't do the water heater.
That.
They did it. Yeah.
That's my sales pitch on you guys. And it's, I just, if I've seen a few people post some nasty things and we usually correct them, but I was like, you know what? If they say it needs to be done, it needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's not something they're going to come out hard. How many units do you think you could sell a week if you just went in and told everybody they need a new unit?
Oh, probably 5 or 10 more.
I figured you probably would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you go in and do the right thing and not upsell them on something they don't need.
And I'm not a big high dollar, high efficiency fan to a point. I usually ask them when they start talking about what they want, what's your utility bills? Are they real high? If they're not real high, then how much more is a unit going to save you? You can get one with all the bells and whistles, but if it's going to be $15,000, you're not going to live here 5 or 6 years normally, because that's about all people live in houses anyway, 7 years or something like that.
Yeah.
You're never going to recoup this money. So don't maybe do the cheapest, but don't do the most expensive. Do a middle grade unit. But utilize that, what your utility bills are. I mean, if they're $200 a month, how much am I going to save you? $50 a month?
Yeah. And it takes them how many years to recoup the energy cost?
Unless you just want the Ferrari or the Tesla of the units, but it's an air conditioning system. It heats and cools your house. Don't get too fancy with it.
We bought a new washer and dryer and refrigerator and all that stuff not too long ago. And the stuff didn't last 2 years. A day after the warranty, it died. And I was pissed, and I got a hold of the company, and they said, well, they're designed to last that long. I'm like, for what they cost, why are they not designing them longer? They said, well, because we've done research, and one, most people don't live in their house long enough for the units to need to last that long. And two, Kelly's going to yell at me or throw something at me. They said, we've done the research on women, and typically they insist to get a new refrigerator, new washer, or dryer every 2-3 years. So you're going to be throwing them out anyway because you got to buy new ones. And I was like, wow, I didn't.
Sounds
that's
like
what
a
they
dumb
told.
woman.
Well, that's what they told me.
But
I know you. I know you get your money's worth out of stuff. So
we've been rocking a 1970s washer forever. I finally got a new one.
Yeah, well, you got to use.
It was free.
Yeah, you got another one, not a new one, another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what they told me. They said they've done the research, and these companies know how long people stay in their homes and how long they typically keep stuff. And that's what they base how long the things will last.
Well, there's a new thing coming out with furnace and ACs, and I'm kind of on the fence with it. So think about this. If you bought a furnace and air conditioner, and they'll finance you for 10 years to pay for this furnace and AC unit.
Holy smokes.
Okay, maybe.
It lasts 10 years in one day.
Right. Well, what they're doing is they're charging you, they're wanting to say 10 years, everything's covered. Parts, labor, maintenance agreements, cleaning checks, all that stuff's covered for 10 years. But if you add the price up, you've bought that system 3 times. So
that's kind of like leasing a car. Isn't that how that works?
Well, right. That's what they call it, a lease, because they say you can come take it out if you want. I'm not sure about all that legal side of it. So what we've talked about doing, and we might do, is what we call, I hate to tell everybody this, but we might do a pay for 5, get 10 years. So we'll basically figure the price in. So you're not paying that payment for 10 years. You pay it for 5 years, and we can still cover the parts and labor covered by the manufacturer anyways. So the only thing we're doing is you're paying for the maintenance agreements and all that stuff up front.
Right. But what happens if a person moves out of their house in 2 years? Is it transferable?
Yes, it is transferable.
So they're financing.
They can pay for a fee. They can transfer the warranty.
So they're financing a furnace and air conditioner for 5 years, and they move out in 2. I guess they still have to pay that, obviously.
Right. Somebody would have to pay that balance off, but you're still covered parts and labor for 10 years.
Almost need to have, when you put a new air conditioner and furnace in, and over years, everybody in the countries will be replaced, and get them just part of your house payment. It's just going to be part of your house.
Well,
payment.
that's kind of what they're doing.
Extra $100 a month, and your unit is covered.
That's what they're trying to do with this. I just thought of that. The dollar amounts that they're talking about, when you do this for 120 months at $250 a month, well, I'll come out in 5 years and put you another one in.
Yeah.
Why not?
Rotate it.
Why not figure it up a way to do it where they can pay for 5 years, but get the 10 years worth of coverage?
Yeah.
So I don't, I'm not a big salesperson. So what would I do? It's like the lady yesterday. I said, I'm not a salesman.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change it. If you want to change it to make you feel better, that's a different story. But I don't mind the 5 years. When you get over 5 years to pay for a furnished and AC unit, yeah, it should still last 15 years, but I'm not a big payment person either. I mean, I got truck payments now because I got 9 work vehicles, but I'd rather not make payments. I'd rather you not finance a furnished and AC if you don't have to.
Yeah, that's how I am. I can't stand payments, but sometimes
because you're paying for it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
but I'm different. And
should have been the bank. That's who makes all the money.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah,
that's what we'll do if we do this program. We'll do an in-house. Figure out how to do this in-house.
Yeah,
but
because that's who
I probably shouldn't tell everybody I'm going to do that, but I would rather not overcharge you than let the bank overcharge you. I don't want to charge like they're going to, if they get, $200 a month for 10 years is what, $24,000.
Don't ask me. I have no idea.
I'll give you.
Kelly's good at math.
Heck yeah. I'll give you that system for $24,000 and you pay me over 10 years. Well, that's a pretty good markup in it. I just can't.
Seeing how it's a $10,000 system, you just made an extra $14,000.
Right. I can't. Well, I can't consciously do that.
Your morals get in the way.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
pay me $15,000 for it, and I'll still make good money on it, and I'll still finance it, and I'm still the manufacturer's still covering the warranty, so I'm not out anything as far as parts and labor.
Right.
So they're still covering all that stuff. So I don't know. I'm just different and hard-headed, maybe.
Well, that's why these people are multi-billionaires because they take advantage of people.
Now
and it's just you don't do that for people. So no, I get it. It's just not right. Have you ever had your AC fixed or replaced or?
Yeah, but it wasn't by Wright Mechanical.
That really wasn't. And I was just wondering if
I work on her sister's air.
Yeah, he does my sister's.
Somebody takes care of me and their family.
No, yeah, my nephew works for heating and air, so anytime he usually comes over, but he's a salesman now, so.
What I was getting at is when they walked in there, did you feel like they were trying to sell you a new unit? Because, that's usually what happens.
No, I've been very lucky just because it was my nephew.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, and I tell people, as long as you use somebody that you're comfortable with, I'd rather use me, but if you don't, just use somebody and check them out. And if they're telling you need to do something every time you turn around, then you need to get a second opinion. Yeah. I love second opinions on people. I love.
If my nephew didn't work for this company, I would not use them because they're really not. They're not great.
I think they're one of your favorites.
I think it's the company we're all thinking, and I would love to put this company on blast, but I'm not going to do that. But if you message us and say, "Hey, who are you talking about?" I'll be glad to share. Yeah.
They've been good to him, but
and and like I said, they could have some practices that are good, but I just don't know. I've never worked for a company other than I've worked in the union and I worked at J&J Mechanical back in 94, 95. But I worked worked for property management, then J&J, then the union. So I never worked for a company like that had to go out and sell, to upsell, to sell maintenance agreements. So I'm learning this stuff backwards. I started my company 20 years ago. Now I'm thinking, well, man, I'm supposed to sell maintenance agreements. So I'm supposed to charge this and charge that. But
20 years ago, I don't think they were selling maintenance agreements.
They did, but not like they do now.
Yeah, because
that's how we put value on a company. If I was to sell it, they're going to say how many maintenance agreements you got. Yeah. You got 10,000. Oh, then you're worth X amount of dollars.
So your accounts receivable are up, and it looks like
because I got somebody's going to pay me once a month or once a year. I got somebody that's going to be writing me a check.
But you've seen what I've dealt with, which is a funny you've seen what I dealt with on rental property. So how are you going to feel about chasing people down when they don't pay? It's like sitting a couch in somebody's house and then you got to go get the couch. How does that work?
I don't know. We were told that if you write it up under a lease agreement, you can repo that unit. I said, no, I don't think you can. I thought the law was once it's installed in space.
Get in?
I agree.
That would be my hang up. Unless Scott came out to run a house one time and we replaced the unit. And first of all, the previous,
so we're still here. So
yeah, the previous tenant cut it all out and took it all. So scrapped it. So I'm out a unit and a furnace.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Scott puts a new system in and we come out and the guy kept saying, it's not working. It's not cooling. We finally figured out that he was turning it off during the day and then turning it on when he got home. It's like Scott was trying to explain to him that it takes a long time to cool the walls and all this stuff. He said, not to mention you got to change the filter. That guy went off.
Yeah. I thought we were getting shot. We both thought we were getting shot that
day. He
day.
kept running. He's cussing us and running back and forth to his truck. And I thought he was going to get a gun. But I said, he's going to kill us. He's going to shoot us. We're standing there, and he come back, kept cussing us. But he stole that unit from me.
Yeah.
A second time.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. He came back, and he actually sent me a text, and I was going to sue him, but he sent me a text. He said, after the way y'all treated me, I went on ahead and took your unit since you say I owe you rent. So he took our air conditioner unit. So you got 3 jobs out of me on that house.
Oh my
that worked out pretty good.
Yeah, he sure did. I don't know.
You got rid of that house though, didn't you?
I did. That's the same guy that we had a murder in. Somebody was killed in the basement, and they buried the body downstairs, and it was
lovely.
Somebody asked me about that today. It's hilarious.
I think I told somebody to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's actually still out there. 1404 Arling Avenue, Louisville, Kentucky. Look it up. It's all about the story.
Don't go live there, but
well, I started to see if we could. It was right around Halloween, and I was a little freaked out. I was like, I'm never going to rent this house out because the neighbors were nosy next door, and I thought they would tell them. And so I started to rent it out to some people to do seances and see if they could find spirits in the house. So,
oh my gosh,
something was going on with that house.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, that story comes up a lot.
Good times.
Both of those stories come up a lot.
Yeah, good times. So, well, it's pretty amazing what you do in the community. We really didn't talk on that, but there's a couple times that we've reached out to you, and you've done some amazing things for cancer patients. And I just don't feel there's any other organization that do what you do that would do what you did, if that makes sense. A lot of do's and don'ts in that statement, but I don't really want to tell what you did because I want people calling us but I mean, you just really took care of them to the point where the one lady had a breakdown. I thought she was going to fall down. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she just couldn't get over what you all did.
Yeah.
So, but it takes a special person to do what you all do, but so many people are focused on the bottom line, and you have to be when you run a business, but people are remembering what others do in the community these days.
Yeah.
They see you're worth $100 million, but they don't see you do anything. And that's what people are paying attention, especially the millennials. They're paying attention to all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing.
Yeah. I've done a few, and like I said, my guys have the green light. Donnie's good about it, and Tommy's good about it. If they feel, something, an issue, they either don't have the money, or they get partial, and usually it's, from my side, it's usually the offer. If you got the money, pay it. If you don't, pay it forward next time. Help somebody out. When you're in good shape, you take care of somebody else.
Well, I think, was you there that day that guy walked in? You was there. He walked in and he said, Scott Wright took care of me. My wife was sick and was dying.
How much did he give me?
$500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, but they were down and out a year or two ago when his wife was sick. And he said, I finally got some money now. I want to give it back.
Yeah. I think we ended up going over and putting an AC unit in for him also this year.
I don't know.
In the same way, I mean, I knew they weren't very old. And I think we did his furnace then, and then we did his AC or something, or we did something. I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah, he's over in Valley Station.
I don't know, but you said you tell people that when you're back on your feet again, make a donation to Shirley's Way, and I kid you not, he walked in there and we were like, "Who are you?" And he said, "Scott Wright came out and did this," and I promised him if we got, and so he handed Kelly $500 in cash.
Yeah. Well, one of the ones I did a service call for a rental property, and it was a young kid. She had cancer. They were talking about something. I was working on the furnace. It was a rental, so I wasn't paying attention to the tenants. And they said something about cancer. Well, I had just come from you all. I had I think the red cancer suck shirt on. And I just took the shirt off. I had a new shirt under it too. I just took the shirt off and give it to them.
Yeah.
And I have no idea who they are. Didn't matter at that point. She was a kid. So, but I had a doctor too, an oncologist. His son went to Trinity. I won't get that wrong because it's Trinity or St. X, but he was in high school and his son passed away from cancer. And I went out and took care of the first time I ever met him. And I didn't charge him. And they get 5 furnished and AC systems in this house. Well, I'll get nothing. Don't worry. I said, take care of him. I'll deal with it. And I still do his work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you look at that and go, if it's going to happen to this guy, it can happen to anybody. I mean, that's what he does for a living.
Yeah.
And, but my guys know that, if just play the situation out, see what happens and do what's right.
Well, I think that's probably the reason why people like to work for you. One, you take care of your people, but you give them the ability, and that's what we talk about, Kelly and the Marys and everybody's, do what's right. Yeah. I'm not saying spend a fortune, but if it comes down to something and do what's right, you don't have to ask me, just do it.
And I mean, it goes back to, I tell people, if you're not going to use me, let me know what you're going to do. And I'll tell you if it's a good deal. If the company's a good company. You check their Better Business Bureau. I know they're not all that stuff's fake anymore. I mean, all your Google reviews and
paying
Facebook,
for them and
they're paying for them and they're wiping them all clean. So look at their Facebook post. That's where you're gonna get some ones that aren't getting cleaned out there. And just, like people do, go on Facebook and ask for somebody, and you'll see who not to use, because they'll tell you who to use and who not to use real quick.
There's a few social media groups they'll throw God under the bus if you had a chance. Jesus didn't do that. I swear he was a bad person.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's crazy anymore.
Yeah.
But I always tell I've sit on jobs for over an hour knowing I'm not getting the job, just to explain to them what they're getting, because I don't want them to get taken advantage of, and knowing that I'm already $1,500 higher because the way we do it is different. And sometimes when you're a small company, you don't have no overhead, you can be cheaper, but I always tell them, look at the service in the long run. Are they going to come back and fix it? Are they going to, they stand behind it? I mean, I've taken units out of houses that were 3 weeks old because they didn't work right, or they didn't think it worked right, or made a noise, put a new one in, because I would lose money the more times I go there. I can sell the unit, or I take it back or return it as a warranty or whatever. But just fix it, make them happy, and get the job done. And I've done it several times, and ours is install it right. If we install it right, we don't have to worry. It's not our problem. It's the manufacturer. Manufacturers will pay for it. We have 10-year parts on them. We put 2-year labor warranties. A lot of times we do 10 years parts and 10-year labor on everything, just because you're spending $8,000-$10,000. You should have 10 years worth of coverage. Parts and labor. You just cover the maintenance, and I'm going to take care of the rest of it for you.
For years, and when you all put our unit in, you got the least amount of solder joints.
Yeah.
Least amount of solder joints. In previous units dealing with rental property, it seems like people used to put tons of solder joints and things, which causes them to leak if they're not done right. And that's the easiest way to get money out of people. It's leaking freon, got to replace it. Because they put too many solder joints in there. When the solder breaks, solder usually lasts, but it's a weak point.
Right.
And to me, it almost seemed like a gimmick, because you all would actually bend the pipe and put it in and have 2 joints versus 6 when you make a cut.
Yeah, so that's the plan. Yeah. We've got most of my trucks, I guess all of them now they got benders on them, so we can try to eliminate
versus using elbows and solder the elbow. And that's how they used to do it. And it would leak like crazy.
Yep.
So
yeah. And you got to pull a vacuum. You got to pressure test them before you leave. Our startup on our systems take an hour or more, versus some guys get in, they turn on and go, and they don't check nothing. We check static pressure. We want to make sure there's enough airflow when the airflow is right. And then we check the gas pressure, because the gas pressure is usually off by a little bit. Just because it comes in from the city doesn't mean it's not going to be affected on the outside. So you do all that stuff right, and we don't have to worry about it. Our callbacks dropped when we changed that process. Our callbacks on startups had way down. Yeah,
the one I went with you on when you did it for Holly, and I got there and hour into it, I was like, "Are we going to put this thing in or not?
Yeah.
We got to do it right."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Got out there, bent the pipe, and made everything fit, and got it all measured up. And we was there for an hour and a half for it. We even set the unit on the pallet. So,
and we will make sure the unit's level and it's not crooked or anything like that. Because to me, it's a lot of visual. Homeowners don't pay attention to some of that stuff, but to me, I can walk in and my guys will tell you, I've made them take stuff out before.
Yeah.
And I've walked in on jobs just when we do a quality check and walk in and go, oh, man, it looks like crap. And it's nothing. It's a wire's not taped up right, or the conduit's a little crooked. Well, it doesn't affect anything, but it's visual for me.
So my furnace sitting on concrete blocks probably isn't good.
It's not bad, but I would rather it not be. I mean, you look at our post that we do. When we'll show a post, I got one of Quentin standing next to cheesing up for me, where we've dug down and we'll dig a base. We'll dig out a little bit of the dirt, put the paver base down, tamp it down with a big, like a patio tamper, put stone down, the big patio stones, then put the unit. So the unit's 3 or 4 inches off the ground. Mm-hmm. So when the weed eater guy comes or the lawnmower guy, they don't hit it. It doesn't sink. It doesn't go in level in 3 or 4 years when the unit look crooked. Then my job looks bad, even though it's still working. But then somebody sees it and goes, wow, that looks like crap. I'm not going to use them people. They don't know what they're doing.
So those green and red brown wires hanging out the side of the unit, you're not supposed to hit those with a weed eater?
Well, no, not necessarily. Now, if you want your dog to go away, then just let them keep chewing on those wires and they'll be all right.
Yeah, we had one that they did that. The dog chewed them up. So, they would always hit it with the weed. And actually, as a kid, I probably did that too. I didn't care. I didn't know how to
Didn't know, right.
Yeah.
And keeping dogs away from it because dog pee's horrible for an air conditioner.
Yeah, it will eat a coil up. Unit out.
It'll eat a coil up in a heartbeat. Yeah.
I put like a water hose on the top of mine sometimes. You're supposed to do that, right?
No. Yeah, that's pretty good. To keep the dog, that keeps the dog over to it.
No, I just I don't know who told me that.
You're supposed to spray it from the inside.
Inside out.
Oh, okay, so not outside.
Take the fan motor.
Yeah,
outside will bend all the little pieces. I do know that.
Yeah. I'm just staying there with the hose. And
that's some companies trying to sell you something.
That's what we're gonna do. we're gonna have you show people how to clean it. We'll have Kelly do it.
There you go.
Well, that's not good.
She's turned in the game show host.
We'll show you how not to do it and how to do it.
Now we can do a fun video, and she can be.
How would you clean it from the inside out?
You got to take the fan off.
You have to take the fan off. That's why you got to call somebody to do it.
Huh?
You can change your filter.
Yeah.
Oh, I got people can't change their filters. So.
I change my filter all the time.
Oh yeah, I've got some marketing ideas. We're gonna do this. That'll be fun.
I swear, I would stand out there with the hose and I would spray into the fan and it would shoot the water all over the place.
Yeah. But you gotta do it from the end.
Well, it's like a sprinkler.
Well, it's from the inside out. So as long as you don't spray the coils on the outside because they're so delicate.
Just from the top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's not too bad, but it's not.
You might not be doing anything at that point other than getting wet,
throwing water everywhere. How many beers did you have?
Maybe they got
it's just
maybe they got a video camera watching you. Go watch this lady on here.
Probably
spray her air conditioner down.
That's funny.
Yeah, we'll do that. It'd be fun. Yeah, we'll do a recording and have a show not what to do.
So.
So I can't work for Wright Mechanical if I do that.
Oh, we can show you how.
She could figure it out.
I am hiring. I am looking for a dispatcher, somebody that knows what they're doing, can talk to people and good customer service. But
good luck with that.
Yeah, I know it. That's why I still haven't hired nobody.
They're few and far between. So do you know why your furnace is on blocks?
I think it's too short. I think if the block weren't there, it would just be hovering.
Well, they can extend the ductwork to it, but you correct me if I'm wrong, but when people's basements flood and the bottom of the furnace gets wet, it'll rust out the bottom of it, and your furnace might be fine, but it'd be rusted out and it has to be replaced.
Is your furnace on blocks or AC? The furnace? Just to keep it off the floor. In the basement, yeah.
Or and my ductwork's like this high.
Yeah. Or it's in there to keep the water off, or they didn't want to do ductwork, so they just jack the furnace up. But usually when we do them on blocks, it's because the floor gets wet and keep the water out, or the basement. I mean, we had one in Anchorage the other day. The guy goes, it's flooded in here 3 times, and finally the furnace went all the way out. So we hung it sideways, horizontal in a basement.
I saw that.
It was an unfinished basement.
Yeah.
But
that's creative.
But it got about 3 foot deep in there a couple of times. And I finally said, can we do this? It's a rental property, and it's unfinished basement. So it actually, way we did it, we positioned it to where it was not going to be in the way if they do want to finish the basement. So we do that. We do it quite a few times. Usually cellars. You go down an old cellar somewhere and it'll be halfway in dirt, and they'll want to figure out a way to get it jacked up and moved. So we kind of hang it, either build a bracket and hang it off the floor joists, or if we put on blocks, depending on how it's set up.
We had the first rental house I ever bought had a furnace that looked like something you'd see on Alien. It was huge, and the pipe ductwork was probably this big, and it took them a day to pull the whole thing out. That's how much ductwork in these old houses back years ago they put in, but it was this big. It was huge, biggest pipes I've ever seen in a basement on something like that. But I
usually old gravity furnaces have
I should have kept it and started a heating and air museum.
Yeah. Well, we probably won't say it probably had asbestos in it either. But
yeah, that's probably true.
It's said,
the company that I don't like is the ones that did it before I realized they were crooks. So if they got asbestos, I guess it's on them at this point.
If it was very old, they probably did. I mean, most stuff back then had it. It's probably why half people get cancer anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
Or the lead paint you all used to put in your houses.
I never chewed on the wall though, so I guess I'm fine. I got some other disease. I don't think I got lead paint disease, but yeah.
Yeah, the lead's everywhere. I mean, it's in plumbing pipes. It's in, which I never paid attention. I was watching a show the other day of one of the Homes on Homes, and they had a lead drain line. And he goes, "Don't touch it. It's lead." And I'm thinking, lead pipe. What do you? And I thought, that's lead. I mean, that's 100% lead. It's not like lead paint.
Just don't stick it in your mouth.
Yeah, don't chew on it.
You're gonna be all right.
All right. So, I mean, it's all over the place. But we melt lead down for the race cars.
Yeah.
So I guess we should do that different, maybe.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. I mean,
you know how many houses I've gutted and scraped up the floors that probably had asbestos tile in it, and I didn't really think about it.
If they're 9x9 tile, they're asbestos.
Oh, I know now. But back when I first started doing this, I didn't know that.
My friend just bought a house last summer, right in the middle of COVID, and beautiful house. But I don't know what happened, how she figured it out. Oh, something leaked. Dryer or washer or something leaked, and they ripped the floor up, and there was asbestos everywhere.
And you're fine to leave it as long as it's sealed and covered. Once the dust particles, right? Because we'll go through some, and we're allowed to tape the seams on some stuff, we use the duct sealer on it, and just encases it. So as long as it doesn't flake and it doesn't get airborne.
Well, luckily her homeowners paid for it, but they redid the whole thing.
Yes, that's expensive to have done.
It was.
If not, we refer people to usually Matt Duncan from Permajack at Louisville. He's asbestos. I believe he's the one that does our asbestos removal whenever we need it. So
yeah, well, even the siding years ago on houses had asbestos in it. The wood siding.
We looked at a house 12 years ago before we moved to Alden Park, and it had granular insulation in the attic, and I knew then it was asbestos from watching TV.
Yeah. All these home improvement shows.
I know what's that look like, because I probably got that too.
In your basement somewhere.
In my attic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, thanks for coming by today. It's been great talking to you, and thanks for everything you do in the community.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's
I put you off long enough.
Yeah. Well,
I told you I didn't want to
do some fun marketing stuff. Kelly's going to be our decoy.
God.
I do like talking every now and then.
Yeah,
you did good.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, how can people help Shirley's Way? We like to cover that at the end of every episode.
We do. 2021, we're looking for $1,010 monthly donors. I say looking, but that's $10,000 a month, $120,000 a year.
We're about a third of the way there, right?
We are, yeah. We would love to have you. So we'll be a quarter of the way in. So several months still. Shirley'sWay.org. Sign up to become a monthly donor. We'd love to have you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks again, Scott, for
you.
coming in.
Thank
And we'll get you on some of our YouTube stuff.
Yeah. By the way, I think now that we're going to your place, Shirley's Way today to do the PM, but I think that got changed.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get you taken care of too.
As long as it's cool. It's getting hot out there. You see, I got my shorts on today. I can't live without air conditioning. So.
Yep. We'll get you taken care of.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. See you.